This video will be about misquotation and misrepresentation of these two men's work at one time, doing a single calculation out of thousands probably in their lifespans. I'm not going to do the pronunciation. One of them is commonly referred to as Biot, with the wrong initials because they're not his initials, and the other one is Arago. These are two men who worked together on a particular project and touched base repeatedly throughout their lives because they ran in the same circles at the time. Citation confirming Camp Vell was the peak in misquotation. A bunch of communications have happened since they lived that didn't mention the actual name of the location that they did an experiment from or to. And it was called Camp Vell originally. And Biot and Arago were there. And there's the reference to where it came from, and I'll have the links below in the description to it. But remember that the location name is important, and I'm going to show you how it mutates over time. But here we go. There are 3 locations on this map. There's actually 4 that are mentioned, but there are 3 here. One of them is an island on the lower right called Ibiza. I hate the name. Next is a mountain on the lower left-hand corner I haven't got labeled because it's really not mentioned much. Then there's Alto del Bartolo. Bartolo Mountain. Alto meaning mountain at this point, in the upper left-hand corner. And that is a distance from there to that island in the lower right at that dot out of almost exactly 100 miles. And there's the reference for it, and it works out to 161 kilometers, or almost exactly 100 miles. That's all there is to it. You can see the angle is almost exactly a 45-degree angle. We're going to continue, and here we go. Now, the other mountain that isn't mentioned is called Mongo, M-O-N-G-O, Mount Mongo, on the upper left there, and it's also called Parc Natural de Montgo. The trouble is that whole section of stone there is called both names, and either one of those peaks, the one that says Creu de Montgo and the other one that says Montgo, could in fact have been the peak that is referenced in a sentence or two that I'm going to read. But the important thing is the physical location is there because it's a third point doing a triangle measurement. That's what was being done. It wasn't a measurement to see if the Earth was flat or to see if you could answer a challenge to see if you could see over distance. These guys sat on mountaintops in shacks, freezing themselves, not to prove the Earth was flat or round. That's not what they were doing. What they were doing was they were trying to do a triangle measurement for a particular purpose, and I'll tell you what it is later. And this is the third location here. The other location that's a mountain I don't have an overhead image for, but you can see it from Google Street View, by the way. But anyway, that's the peak, and over on the right there you can see there's still a tower shack that's right here on that hunk of ground. It's not listed on any damn map, but it is listed if you do this surface, and it's the only object out there that matches the description of what they were aiming at during the experiment. And there's still a tower shack there. Just want you to make note of that. Next. Now, I'm going to cover a simple thing, but Bartolo Peak is 100 miles from Camp Vell Peak. It's got various names and mispronunciations, but these are 2 peaks 100 miles apart. Now, let's make an arbitrary 100-mile distance shot from peak to peak over water, just like that. And we're just going to make up one where we get the numbers really easy to round off. The bulge height and hidden amount we're making identical, and we're making that 1,667 feet. So the viewer height is 1,667 feet at 100 miles. That means if you are at 1,600 feet, you can see someone 1,600 feet above the water 100 miles off in the distance. The reason I'm picking those is those are kind of in the middle, and someone else already did this. Now, next. Bartolo is almost 2,400 feet above sea level, and Camp Vell is almost exactly 1,300 feet above. So one of them's above and one of them's below the 1666 or 16667, whatever you want to call it. Now, the viewing of it is that at 240 feet, you would see 240 feet of Camp Vell being visible if you were viewing it from Bartolo, and if you were viewing it the other way around, 327 feet of Bartolo would be visible from Camp Vell's peak. In neither case, on a round Earth, would you not be able to see them? There is no reason to have that assertion if anybody made one. So why would anybody make one? Again, obviously, if you're on a mountain peak or a hill peak that's over 1,000 feet up, or in this case over 1,600 and just under 1,600, you'd still be able to see the other peak. So let's read some assertions here. Okay, Biot and Arago's restart of the meridian arc measurement. This was a triangular measurement on the surface of the Earth to make an exact set of calculations to use as a basis for declaring the new measurement for a meter stick. That's really what it was about. But this included an interpeak long sight line measurement. And by November 1806, triangulation measurements began from, and this is the hard-to-pronounce location, something Las Palmas. This took 2 months of hard work because an error in the orientation of reflectors placed on Camp Vell in Ibiza meant they could not sight the island at night, and they had to fix the problem. They put up a light source there on, again, Camp Vell, and they were trying to view it from another location. Okay? Now I'm going to read the first iteration of this game of telephone. Now remember, that's 1806. So by 1870, someone doing a publication put up this. And the publication is called Chambers Journal of Popular Literature, Science, and Arts. And it was on page 722. And it was volume 7, series 4. And it was number 359. Okay? And it said the following. This is a compression version here. Viewing from Mount Mongo, Cape San Antonio, that's that third location, Spain, that is 20 leagues west of Formentera Island. That's just a reference point to where it was. Having adjusted the telescope of his circle in the direction of the island of Ibiza, he saw in the field of the glass a small luminous point, just perceptible. After looking long and anxiously at the light, it was satisfied that it came from the signal lights on Mount Campvey. So the light is on Mount Campvey. That's where the light is. In the island of Ibiza, 10 leagues distant. So Camp Vell was changed to Campvey. So it's Campvey, because LL in the Spanish variation in that part of the country, it was Y. So it's Campvey. And again, the light source was at Campvey and being viewed from somewhere else. Okay? And this is also where they were trying to put up the mirrors and reflectors and light sources, and they were having trouble with it for 2 freaking months in the middle of nasty weather. It was wintertime. Now, 2 years later, Samuel Rowbotham had used in the past this Chambers publication for other proofs of what he wanted to prove. So in Earth, Not a Globe, he may have taken this next bit of data from exactly what's above, but this is his take on it. In the account of the trigonometrical operations in France by M.M. Biot and Arago, he's abbreviating their names and making it hard to track, it is stated that the light of a powerful lamp with good reflectors was placed on a rocky summit in Spain called Las Palmas and was distinctly seen from Camprey on the island of Ibiza. Now that's exactly backwards and is not true. Next assertion. The elevation of the 2 points was nearly the same. No, they weren't. They were very different. Next, the distance between them was 100 miles. Yeah. And then he says, if the Earth's a globe, the light from the rock in Spain, even though it wasn't on that rock, would have been 6,600 feet below the line of sight. Now, that assertion is based on him assuming that this is done at water level. Flat earthers often make assertions ignoring altitude. They ignore that you can put something above the ground. And they slip that in. It's sneaky. But he got the location of the light source wrong, the location of the observer wrong, got their names wrong. At least he didn't misspell the last names. And he was being very vague about it. And this isn't a pamphlet, and it's just a line that he put in. So anyway, then Campvey got corrupted to Camprey because I guess the V looked like a lowercase r, probably a bad print. Eric Dubay's 200 proofs the Earth is not a spinning ball then reposted the above almost verbatim, and you can compare them along with me. In the 19th century, French experiment by Biot and Arago. A powerful lamp with good reflectors was placed on the summit of Las Palmas in Spain. Again, that's not where the light was. And it was able to be seen all the way from Camprey on the island of Avaza. No, that's not where it was. That's not, they swapped locations. Since the elevation of the 2 points were identical and the distances between 100 miles, if the Earth was a ball 25,000 miles in circumference, it would have been over a mile under the line of sight. Again, that's not true. But please note that in the above statements, 19th century really just refers to 1806 to 1807. Biot was actually a misinterpretation of Mr. Biot and his actual name, and Arago just refers to Francois. Arago. Not using his full name is not a good idea. And then the Las Palmas, Spain summit was actually named Bartolo in their notes. So someone didn't research any of this. They picked up a magazine and read it. This is like requoting something from the Inquirer almost. Avaza Island Camprey location is actually called Camp Vell on the maps at the time. And then that changed over time, and now it says almost the same thing. It still says that if you look up a map that even shows it. Saying the view between two peaks of identical heights is the same as viewing 2 points at sea level is not just an error, it is a lie. The view between two peaks of identical height depends on the height of those peaks and the distance apart. Two peaks only have to be taller than around 1,667 feet, both, or some variation plus or minus on each end, to just be able to see each other at 100 miles over water. The assertion that everything would be over a mile underneath the line of sight isn't just a mistake. It's not an error. It's a lie. Mount Bartolo is listed with the information below, and you can look it up if you want to. So anyway, what happened here is a game of telephone, misquoting a couple of guys who never believed any of the things they said, and they're all assigning almost flat earth technology and testing procedures to two guys who were literally trying to figure out a large-scale triangle that had a larger number of degrees in it that you would have on a flat earth, by the way. And then nobody mentioned the other third point, and also I'd like to point out that some of this is visible on Google Street View, and you can literally see over the water the same thing, almost. So I'd just like to point that out. Even that works. Now, again, quick review. These two guys went off and did something totally unrelated. It's not related to flat Earth, and they weren't trying to measure whether they were able to see a distance. They expected to be able to see the distance, otherwise they wouldn't have put up the mirror and light source on that little spot out there. Next, this is the quote confirming the name of the location, so I've got the map correct. This is the mapping of the information. That's the distance they went through. That's the third location there, if you're curious about it. This is the one that everybody can't find a map for, so this is your map reference. I'll include it in the link below. And here's the assertion set that I'm making, which is this is not impossible to do unless you deliberately ignore that these are mountaintops, which is what the person apparently did to say something as preposterous as you would have over a mile missing. And I don't like that they were misquoting these guys. Anyway, thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with that. And read the notes if you wish.